Hello and welcome to the new video. This is my league starter for like a Guardian, Summon Raging Spirit with like a bunch of other minions, mercs and so on, triple elements. Before we move on with the video, let me just say a couple of things. Firstly, this is a league starter build. It's gonna be clunky, it's gonna have problems and so on. The currency that I spend on this build overall is 1 divine, and I'm not gonna be spending any more because I'm saving up my currency to actually play the build that I wanna play, and that's a custom create energy blade. And for that reason, I need to have like some kind of functional build to be able to farm T16, right? And this build actually does it, not necessarily fast, that's what you can see on the screen. So in other words, there's gonna be no improvements, no like changes to POB. If you wanna improve the build, you're gonna be doing this on your own, and unless you can find someone else who plays a similar build. But if we're looking on the PoE Ninja, a Guardian SRS is a very off-meta build, as you know, I want to play something that is not actually meta, and I'm gonna be paying extra money for like a day one items. As sooner you're gonna see that my items are very bad, and I'm able to still, relatively comfortably do the T16 maps. I wouldn't say this is a speedrunning build, but it does the job done, right? So like killing Mercenary in T60 maps with this kind of budget is like I would say there are some types of mercenaries I'm going to show you that are relatively easy for me to kill because they are being occupied by trying to hit the minions, and they are taking, the minions are taking the aggros. But there are some the mercenaries that just simply teleports on your face and they do like a discharge, there's like some kind of blood novas or whatever that's called. They're pretty much gonna be like killing you, or you're gonna be very dangerously low. So you have to watch out what kind of types of mercenaries are on the maps, and you have to make a decision if it's worth killing or potentially losing the experience if you want it. Here's an example of a fight when the mercenary is being occupied by the minions, and it's relatively easy to kill him because he's not gonna be doing like some kind of teleports and so on. And this is an example of the mercenaries that hard for me to kill. Could do the I don't have too much damage to like quickly blast them off, so they're just gonna kill me no matter what I do. Now I'm just gonna show you my gear and so on. Just please remember this is a 1 divine build, and it's the league is like a day 3 or maybe 3.5 by the time that the video goes out. So let's start with the flasks. That's pretty much, I didn't put any effort into that, so you can ignore that and you can use whatever you want. Passive tree, it looks pretty much like a standard generic minion build. There's nothing impressive over here. The only thing that I would say, you start around the red maps, you just want to get this medium cluster jewel, and the most important passive that you're looking for is the Blessed Rebirth, because this will make your minions immortal for some time, and this will help you out sustaining the SRS. As at some point the mercenaries that you're going to be encountering the red maps just going to be blowing your SRS very quickly. I didn't see the SRS dying too often in white and in the yellow maps, but on the red maps, yeah, definitely I did see that some mercenaries are just destroying them. So this is definitely a must buy once you get in the red maps. And this is when I was building this character, this cluster jewel costed me 45 chaos. So pretty much was half of my budget for this build went into just this single jewel. And I'm using a very basic jewel such as life, some increased minion damage, and have minion resistance, and the chill effect is whatever. It you don't actually need it. Ascendancy wise, you wanna go a normal, cruel, merciless, and uber ala. This when you take this first as your first point, this will significantly help you out with the campaign, especially the Sentinel of Radiant. will give you like a lot of damage on the rare enemies. Probably you won't have access right away to the convocation to move him around like very quickly, so you're just gonna have to resummon him whenever you see some like a pack of monsters or like a rare enemy. So it's gonna be a little bit painful at the beginning, but it will help you out. This is when you start getting a lot of damage because your SR is gonna be hitting quite often and killing enemies, and you're gonna be getting like those like relics that's gonna give you like hatred, wrath, and anger, and that's gonna give you a lot of damage. This is just gonna give you a little bit survivability. This is just free armor and an energy shield. Now let's start with the gear. You're looking for some kind of minion one with +1 and some kind of increased damage or increased attack speed, and you want to have like an open suffix so you can craft yourself trigger socketed spells, and then you do Flesh Offering, Desecrate, and Spell Cascade. If you're wondering where do you get the trigger socketed spells, you have to go to Act 9 of here. Where's the Refinery? Act 10, Act 9, Refinery. Yeah, a Refinery over here. And there's gonna be like a secret dungeon that you have to go in, and then it's like a quick interaction, and then you're gonna get your like the craft. So you get it over here, just in case if you don't know. The second one, it's just like +1, some increased damage, minion attack speed, so on. You could use a shield if you want to. I'm just using 2 wands because I want to add a bit of extra damage. And I keep my auras over here, such as Skitterbots, Determination, and Purity of Elements. Important on Purity of Elements, the quality does give you some extra resistance, just so you know. In my helmet is pretty much life resistance +1 to minion gems, and I keep my animated guardian set up. And I have like an elemental army, meat flesh, and minion life just to keep him alive, and he's more like a buff. The items that you see on the screen, that's what I'm using on my animated guardian. Then my amulet is just pretty much life resistance and some kind of movement speed anointment that was cheap and had the oils for it, so nothing special. This ring again, just like life resistance, some damage for minions. I found it from one of the mercenaries, so nothing too special. Boots again, life resistance, nothing too special. And I keep automation steel skin. Make sure that those two are linked and those two are not linked. And then I have a convocation and frost blink. Then for my gloves, again, life resistance, not much to do. And I have like my summon guardian golem, minion life, elemental army, and feeding frenzy. So the golem just procs the feeding frenzy. I'm trying to keep him as much as alive as I can, because sometimes he will die. He will put himself like in the dangerous situation, so you have to resummon him every now and then. But most of the time he stays alive. Belt, like strength, life resistance, pretty much that's it. The other is Prof and Proxy. I keep my elemental weakness over here, so I can get like some elemental resistance from the skitterbot. You want to have the skitterbot on the left. I mean the ring on the left. This will just take the chilling skitterbots from you, but you still have the one that shocks. For main body armor, for the most of campaign, until about red maps, I was using a tabula, and I was totally fine. Only when I started doing T12, I noticed that I have to upgrade my tabula to something better. And I think I got this for about 20C or something like that. I cannot exactly remember. And I'm using Summon Raging Spirit, Multi-Strike, Unleash, Minion Damage, Elemental Damage with attacks, and Elemental Penetration. Now, Elemental Penetration is not actually needed, as you can replace this, because for the most, I got this very recent, because I had to level up all of the penetration. I was using Ruthless, and on the lower maps, I was using Melee Splash. So those two, just to replace this, you can do that. This will give you more AoE, and this will give you the same amount of damage like this, like the single target. So there's not much of a difference. The main difference is if you're gonna be running some kind of map, especially the red map, when the minion's gonna have some kind of resistance, then the elemental penetration is gonna be better. But don't buy the elemental penetration, just stick with the Ruthless if you want. Right, so about the mercenary gear. one of the things, I mean, there's two things that I would like to like highlight it. Firstly, get yourself like some kind of wonder, because they can equip all of the items. As you can see, they can equip strength, dex, and any in the items. And the second thing is make sure that they have all of like the resistance capped, because you want to keep them alive as much as possible. And the only recommended item that I would say with the Mercenary is this, because this makes your damage lucky, and this gives you a huge chunk of damage, and you know that's what you have to keep your Mercenary alive. The other items I'm using, 2 obliteration. Every now and then I will get some chaos explosions, and that's actually helps me out with with the clearing. That's why I don't have to use the melee splash in my SRS setup. Then I'm using Assonant gentle touch gloves. This is another source of explosion, and then I have a temporal chain. I use Cosprey's will chest. This gives me additional cures, and this makes cures as hexproof. This is very important. This only makes hexproof cures for your Mercenary, not for me. So if I run a hexproof map, my cures from the skitterbot will be not applied, but the Mercenary will be always applying, thanks to this chest, the temporal chains from the gloves. So you know that's something I ever mention. Belt of Deceiver, it gives him the tankiness and makes every enemies around being intimidated, so that gives me a little bit extra damage. Boots, I get additional Qs, I don't necessarily need it. You could use some kind of rare boots and get some like more life, more resistance, whatever. Like this slot is like very flexible. I just had them in my inventory, just let's put it on and move on. The helmet I'm using like life, resistance, and I have some life regen, because again I just want to make sure that he stays alive no matter what, because I want to have this buff all the time, the explosions and the chest. So that's like them items, they synergize very well. So this is my Atlas progression. I'm only missing the 2 unique maps. I have 2 Void Stones. Probably killing Maven and Uber Elder with this build is gonna be a bit of a painful process to do it, since I don't have that much of a damage. But for now it's still not so bad. I can still play it. What I'm doing about the Atlas, this is my pretty much a regular thing that I do. It's pretty much Blight, Alva, and a lot of Scarabs and Red Altars. I didn't take this note over here that makes them then Blight encounters much faster, because my build is not there like with the damage and with the clear speed yet. So I'm not taking this note for now. So once I gather more currency, the next video that you can expect, it's gonna be a custom crate that's gonna be using the same character. But until that video, I will see you later.